What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a great week. We have a very special video today on the house of Shareef Oudh. This is a house that I've been planning on getting to for quite some time, and I've dove pretty deep so far, and I'm not done yet, but I'm just kind of here to share what I've discovered about the house so far and some of the things that I've purchased from them. So got a little cheat sheet right here because there's so much information on all these different attars and wild oud oils. I was not going to be able to remember it all correctly. So we'll start off with one of my favorite tobacco fragrances, tobacco and oud fragrances. This is Shareef Oudh. A lot of mispronunciation is going to be happening today, so just be prepared for that. But Oudh, about $495 for 30 ml, so very expensive, extremely high oil concentration, a lot of resins and spices, and also 3 different types of oud go into this fragrance to create a very smoky, resinous tobacco type of fragrance here. Extremely deep, very long lasting, very natural. One of the reasons that I got into the house of Shareef is you always hear people talking about reformulations and the IFRA. A lot of people kind of have the misinterpretation that the IFRA is something that as soon as you put in a banned material in the fragrance, they kick down the door and they make you reformulate the fragrance, and they just have some all-being control over every fragrance company. That is not true. A lot of the fragrance companies that the main designer and even a lot of niche fragrance companies they get their oils from, they do follow the IFRA, so they are kind of bound to their restrictions. But it's something that you have to choose to be a part of. It's almost kind of like a certification. In some ways, it's not something that you're required to be a part of. So this is a company here, Shareef, that is far away from the IFRA's reach and constraint. They are using natural materials. They're using sustainably and wild harvested ouds and musks. So very good company, very responsible company, but still using natural raw materials in their fragrances. And that's something I think in today's age that is to be appreciated and to be celebrated. So Oudh, unbelievable fragrance. Again, 3 different types of oud. I think it's Cambodian, Laotian, and there may be one other one mixed in there. But incredible fragrance, very expensive, price per ml, yes. But if you're a collector, especially if you're into resinous oud tobacco fragrances like I am, 100% worth the money. Unbelievable stuff. Projection longevity, it's exactly as you would hope. So next one here, we're going to go, this is a wild oud oil from Thailand. I got my cheat sheet here. It's from the Prachen region of Thailand, and it's 4 years old. And this one is very interesting, a very, very strong oud smell, as you would expect with it being a pure wild oud oil. But tons of complexity. You know, you got like raisin, date, fig, like really dark, dried fruits in this. Strong wood, earthy notes as you would expect, but nothing funky, barnyard or animalic, nothing down that road. Very clean, fruity, not really that smoky either. You know, some ouds go smoky, especially when you combine them with certain resins and spices and even other woods if you're doing like certain attars, which we'll get to over here. But man, I'm really starting to love oud from Thailand because of the smell. Again, more complex than you would think. You know, oud oil is just one ingredient. It's wild harvested oud oil. How it's aged, how it's distilled has a big impact on its properties and its quality. And nobody does it better than Shareef. And man, Rakim is unbelievable. And in the context of what's available in the house of Shareef, this is relatively affordable. You know, for a pure wild oud oil, you're looking at 2.5 ml. I think it's under $400 or under $500. Which compared to some of the other things that go for $1,400, even up to $2,800 for 2.5 ml, that is a relatively affordable entry-level introduction to a really high-quality, pure wild oud. So next, we're going to go with a attar from them. This is called Radha, and Radha is rose, oud, saffron, musk, ambergris, and it's even got an interesting ingredients that I've never seen used in any perfumery before, but it's blue lotus. The ambergris and the rose is so gorgeous in here. You got some saffron in there. The oud note, they use Sumbawa oud, I believe that was correct. Yeah, Sumbawa. And this is again, if you're into, I had recently done a video on Nebulous. If you're into rose, oud, saffron fragrances, even though this is not a sprayable fragrance, this right here is incredible stuff. You get really good projection even though it's an attar. Some attars don't project that well because they do require body heat and somewhat of a hot environment. And because it's a pure oil, there is a ton to smell because it's very strong, but you also don't get a lot evaporating off your body. So the performance is relatively linear. You know, I've noticed that the attars, when you put them on skin, you can still smell them very, very well 24 to 36 hours later on skin. They just don't project extremely heavily. Now, I'm in a hot environment, so I do get compliments and I do get a good amount of projection on these. And who knows, that may change when the temperature drops below 40, 50 degrees. But I'm lucky because I run hot as a person anyway, and I also live in a warm environment. So when I've purchased these, they are definitely some fragrances, even the attars, are something that I can continue smelling all the way throughout the day. I don't get nose deaf to it. So next what we got here is Kaluk. Now this, another note on my cheat sheet, was really made from the distiller and from the head perfumer of Al Shareef to really kind of create how the Holy Kaaba used to smell in the past, so using ingredients that they would have used hundreds if not thousands of years ago. And this is one of those fragrances that was meant to replicate how the Holy Kaaba would have smelled in the very, very distant years in the past. So this is a really interesting fragrance. Again, it's hard to describe because it is an attar, so it's not any type of, it is strong, very, very strong oud. Definitely tell that there's probably some rose in here. Again, extremely complex, extremely strong. One thing I've noticed is that they are a lot like other perfumes or any type of sprayable perfume. These attars do change a bit once they get put on skin compared to how you smell them out of the bottle. I even got a little bit on my finger here, so we'll just kind of put that on a pulse point here. Why not? Don't want to waste anything. That's probably like $5 right there. But yeah, even just that little bit, I can smell it on my skin. It's strong but soft at the same time. And then we got Al-Bayet Al-Tiq, which is another attar from them. Now this is the opposite of Kaluk. This is how the perfumer imagined that the Holy Kaaba is currently smelling and kind of recreating that fragrance of present day ingredients for the same exact place. So you have past with Kaluk and the present with Al-Bayet Al-Tiq. And again, probably a lot of mispronunciations going on here when you ask somebody from the Southeast United States to pronounce Arabic or French words, so I'm doing my best there. But really, this fragrance is a lot less sharp and strong than Kaluk. It's a little bit more inviting. Definitely more like fruit, rose, some other things going on there, maybe a little bit of spices and florals as well. But a lot more of approachable fragrance than Kaluk, in my opinion. Absolutely incredible stuff. And next we're getting into some really different stuff. This is an attar called Zumarud, and this is 20-year-old Sumbawa oud oil mixed with quite a lot of other things. Now they list notes of like lemon, fresh cut grass. This is just a very outdoor smelling type of attar and oud, but it's not barnyard or animalic. We'll get to that with the next one here because it really is. But this attar is more outdoor, fresh, grass. It's just really hard to describe. It's very complex. A lot of these, even for the 0.2 ml samples, I think it's worth it before you make the jump to the 2.5 ml just because of the cost of some of these things. Just to wear it, a lot of these you can get 5 to 10 wearings even out of this just little bit because these oils are so strong. But that one is really good. I'm actually probably going to buy all three of these right here: Kaluk, Al-Bayet Al-Tiq, and Zumarun. And again, they're all very different, all very strong. Kaluk, in my opinion, being the strongest and probably the least inviting of all of them. You really have to be a fan of the stronger oud in that fragrance if you're going to appreciate and buy something like that. But all those three are exceptional. They're costly, but I plan to have all three of those in my collection here in the next 6 months to a year, hopefully. So very expensive, especially for this size bottle, the 2.5 ml. I think Kaluk is around 800, Al-Bayet Al-Tiq is around 1200, and Zumarun is 800 to 900. So very expensive, very high quality. And for me, it's not just about collection and enjoying these fragrances, but this is, for me, as a, somebody who reviews high-end niche perfumes, this is like an educational standard in what oud should be, and different types of wild oud, aged oud from different regions. And it really gives me a better idea of what niche companies are actually using high quality wild and aged ouds, as opposed to maybe oud accords or cheaper manufactured ouds, which there's definitely a place for that. These oud farms that force the oud production and are monitored and sustainable, there's a place for that too, because they can offer a lot of consistency in a product as well. But you're not going to get the same type of experience that you will from an aged wild oud that's harvested. So next up we got Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb. And this is an Indian wild oud harvested in 1972. So as of 2025, we are talking 53-year-old wild oud. Now this is extremely funky, earthy, smoky, barnyard, animalic. Not going to be for everybody. I actually appreciate it. This is something I would actually wear because it does start to smell a little bit different on skin. But if I ever did buy a larger bottle of this, of 2.5 ml, it would mainly be for an educational purposes. And just to say that I have a 53-year-old oud in my collection from India, wild oud, really cool. It's not as strong as I first remember it. Maybe it's just because I'm getting more into oud in the house of Al Shareef, but I remember when I first smelled this, I was like, oh my God, it was strong. It was something that even my son said when I first put it on, he goes, what are you wearing? He's just kind of confused as to what he was smelling. It's like, no, I get it, man. I get it. It is extremely pungent. So all these very high quality. Some are going to appeal to others more than some. And I would say the Aurangzeb, the 53-year-old wild Indian oud, is probably the least approachable to a lot of people, even if you are in to ouds and attars already. That is just a very pungent aroma, as they would say. So next up is Al Galia II, and this is just based on the attar that they already have, but this is a perfume sprayable version. Very smoky, resinous, almost smells a little bit like tobacco. You actually get some similar type of vibes as you would in Ishrak, but it's not as tobacco forward. It's more smoky, resinous, and spicy, which again, that kind of goes into the same category of Ishrak, but Ishrak has more of, in my opinion, an oud and tobacco smell, where this is a little bit more smoky resins and spices. But yeah, just a perfumable or perfume sprayable version of their attar, which I believe the attar is around $500-$600 of that. But it was nice that they sent me a sample of a perfume version of this, kind of just so I could try it out. But extreme longevity and projection on that. Very high oil concentration. You can look at the color right there. Really high quality stuff. So House of Al Shareef, top-notch quality, expensive house, especially per ml. But for me, it's more about not just the collecting and the enjoyment of these fragrances. It's more just about the educational standard that they offer with the ouds that they have that are wild harvested from different regions, different ages. So for me as a reviewer, it's valuable. I've always been wanting to get into this house, and I've always been wanting to get into fragrances that are like 100% natural, wild harvested, minimally processed. And if you're going to do that, look no further than the House of Al Shareef. Again, I have no links. I don't get anything from this other than just my opinion and sharing it with you guys. So if you want to buy from Al Shareef, you're going to be paying retail because I don't have any links to give you. In fact, all these things that I purchased here, I didn't get any discounts. I think the second purchase, for leaving them a review, you get a 10% off discount code. So if you buy from them and then you want to repurchase something expensive, leave a review, buy something from them, maybe some of these samples that are entry level that are less cost, and then when you go to buy the full 2.5 ml, leave them a review and then use that 10% off to get you some money off the more expensive 2.5 ml. That would be my best suggestion to get into this house. I've also never seen these sold on eBay or any secondary market, which lets me know there's not a lot of fakes running around, and also people who buy these are not reselling them because they are true collectors and there's something that they want to keep in their collection. So that says a lot. Unbelievable house. Just kind of the way oud should be done. So appreciate you guys watching. Hope this helped you guys. I know it's not a lot of people that are going to be into Al Shareef, this house right here, but it is one of those that I think is kind of a standard in that oud category. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll be seeing you all shortly.